Jesus once said, "Blessed is the one who has come to life before he dies." And to some, it sounded like poetry. To others, a mystery. But to those who listened with open hearts, it was a divine whisper, a call to wake up before the clock runs out. And for many people in the quiet town of Maple Hollow, that calling had gone unheard. But for one man, Daniel Hart, those words would soon become the doorway back to life itself. You see, Maple Hollow sat in a valley surrounded by rolling hills and whispering pines. It's the kind of town where the church bell was still the loudest sound on Sunday mornings. Daniel had lived there his whole life, steady, predictable, unchanging. He worked long days at the lumber mill, his hands rough and scarred from years of cutting and carrying. His co-workers joked that Daniel could split a log with a single stare. But behind his quiet strength was a hollow ache that never healed. 3 years earlier, he had lost his wife, Emily, the only person who could make him laugh so hard he'd forget the world's weight. Cancer had stolen her in slow motion, leaving behind an empty house that still smelled faintly of her lavender soap. He stopped going to church after the funeral. He stopped praying. He didn't stop believing in God. Exactly. He just didn't know what to say to him anymore. Each day became a rhythm of routine. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. He wasn't angry. He just felt unfinished, like life had lost its color and turned to grayscale. One April night, a violent storm swept through the valley. Lightning split the sky. Thunder rolled like a drum of judgment. When Daniel woke the next morning, the air smelled sharp and clean, the roads littered with fallen branches. He grabbed his chainsaw, slung it to the back of his pickup, and began clearing debris from Main Street. The hum of the saw echoed against the church's steeple as he worked through the morning fog. Then he saw him, a stranger sitting on the steps of the old white chapel. The man wore a denim coat, faded from years in the sun, and a gray hat that shadowed his eyes. Yet somehow, his presence felt steady and strong, like an oak tree that had weathered 1,000 storms. "You're up early," Daniel called out. The man smiled. "When you've truly come alive, you don't want to waste a sunrise." Daniel gave a tired laugh. "Alive? Around here, we're mostly just trying to make it through." The man tilted his head. "That's exactly the problem. Too many are breathing, but not alive. You know, Jesus once said, 'Blessed is the one who has come to life before he dies.' Do you know what that means?" Daniel wiped his forehead. "No, but it sounds like something meant for holier people than me." The stranger chuckled softly. "Holiness isn't about being perfect, friend. It's about being awake." They worked together, cutting limbs and hauling branches to the roadside. And as they worked, the stranger spoke. Do you remember the story of Jesus and the widow of Nain? Daniel paused. It's been a while since I read the Bible. The man continued, his voice calm, but full of quiet power. Jesus was walking into a small town, and as he reached the city gate, a funeral procession came out. The only son of a widow had died. Her husband was gone, and now her boy too. Her whole world buried in a coffin. Daniel stopped working. The wind rustled through the trees. People wept, the man went on. They believed death had won. But Jesus looked at the mother, saw her pain, her emptiness, and something divine stirred within him. He walked up to the coffin, touched it, and said, "Young man, I say to you, arise." The man's eyes seemed to glimmer like sunlight on water, and the boy sat up. Daniel felt goosebumps crawl across his skin. "But you know," the man said softly, "the greatest miracle wasn't the boy breathing again. It was the mother's heart coming back to life. Hope was resurrected that day." That's what Jesus does. He doesn't just raise the dead, he wakes the living. By noon, they had reached the old wooden bridge by the edge of town. A massive maple tree lay across it, the same one Daniel had carved with Emily the summer they married. Their initials were still visible, though weathered and half swallowed by the bark. D plus E, 2006. He dropped his saw and sat down. His throat tightened. "She loved this spot," he murmured. "Said this was where heaven touched earth." The old man sat beside him. "Maybe it still does," he said gently. Daniel looked up. The storm had passed completely now, leaving the sky painted with streaks of gold and violet. The air shimmered with light. For the first time in years, Daniel felt tears. Not from pain, but from something awakening inside him. He turned to say something, but the stranger was gone. Only muddy footprints led back toward the church steps. That Sunday, Daniel walked into the church for the first time since Emily's funeral. The pews creaked under his weight. The air smelled of wax and hymnals. As the choir sang, he closed his eyes and saw her smile, felt her laughter in his memory, and realized she wasn't gone at all. Love doesn't die, it transforms. He didn't find answers that morning, but he found something better. Life stirring where death once lived. A quiet, holy stirring that whispered, "You are still here for a reason." And friends, as he walked home, Jesus' words echoed through his heart. "Blessed is the one who comes to life before he dies." It means to wake up now, not someday. To forgive before time runs out. To say "I love you" while you still can. To see God's fingerprints in the rain. And to let your heart resurrect before your body ever has to. Daniel finally understood. To come to life before you die is to live as if heaven has already begun. Because in Christ, it has. God bless you, my friends.